I don't want to go back to an era in the past because I like living more in the present. It's better if we let the past stay in the past. I like to focus more on the present and I like to anticipate what might be there in the future waiting for me. I would say the Bloody Sunday.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody brings it up, it's definitely something that I want to talk about.
They were all not the Rajputs, they weren't united as one power. Honestly, it made sense why the people wanted to overthrow him, because he did, as she said, he did neglect his people, because it was mainly because Germany wanted revenge, right? Hitler and all. So maybe if the Treaty of Versailles was less harsh on them, that could have been avoided.
Hello, welcome to Mythosphere, where Asian past collabs with timeless ideas. Each week we dive deep into mythology, history and philosophy with the new stories, wisdom and wonders that have created the human thought. Whether you're here for a new perspective or to dive into good tales, we're glad to have you here. So let's start with today's episode. Hi, I'm your host Twisha Arora, and today we have something really exciting for you. We have two brilliant guests from Nirja Modi School, Kimaya and Tashvi.
Hello.
Hi.
They're not just history nerds, but passionate learners of the past. And today they're gonna have a little fun with us for fascinating history questions to unpredictable stories. And they're also gonna tell us about things and perspectives they feel like they have to share with us. So buckle in and let's start with today's episode. Hi Tashvi, hi Kimaya, how are you?
We're good.
So let's get to the first question without waiting. So my first question for you would be, if you had the opportunity to go back to one era of the past, which one would it be?
Probably the early Vedic period. Everything was so harmonious. Like the society, it was like one big collective family. You know, the women were respected. There was no rigid class system. You could choose your own profession. It was just like a harmonious blend.
Yeah. What about you, Tashvi?
I would say I don't want to go back to an era in the past because I like living more in the present. So, yeah.
That's exciting, but like, what's so much about the past that you don't like?
I think it's better if we let the past stay in the past. I like to focus more on the present and I like to anticipate what might be there in the future waiting for me.
That's
So,
super exciting. Okay, for the next question, what's one thing you find so intriguing about the Russian Revolution, where we had World War I, Tsar Nicholas? What's something you find so exciting reading it?
I would say the Bloody Sunday.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody brings it up, it's definitely something that I want to talk about. I'll be like, okay, yes, let's talk about this.
What do you think were the main events that led to the Bloody Sunday?
I feel like there were a lot of things that led up to it. Mostly how the Tsar neglected a lot of ideas brought to him by the people. So yeah.
And what about you, Kimaya?
For me, it really surprised me how it resembled the Indian status at the time, during the Rajputs especially.
Yeah.
They were all not the Rajputs, they weren't united as one power. So that's what made it easier for them to invade and take over, right? So that's what I feel like that's what happened with the Russian people. They were all divided in their views. They all wanted representation, but then some also wanted the Tsar to be completely overthrown. So maybe if they were more united, they would have been able to succeed in their goal.
So like, we have different perspectives from the past. What is your perspective about the Russian Revolution?
For me, honestly, it made sense why the people wanted to overthrow him, because he did, as she said, he did neglect his people. So I think it was for the better, but even after that, Russia was still in a huge turmoil for many years after. So
that's very exciting. Next question is somehow related to what happened in the Russian Revolution. Do you think the world wars were avoidable or were they inevitable? Like, do you think if anything that could have happened in the past could have overthrown the wars that were happening?
I think for the First World War, it was inevitable because, you know, there was rapid industrialization, militarism. So all the European countries, they all wanted to try out the military. So it was kind of inevitable because all of them were becoming really powerful. So they wanted to try out new things, and it made sense. Obviously, it wasn't a good thing because millions of lives were lost. But it made sense. For second one, I think maybe it could be avoidable because it was mainly because Germany wanted revenge, right? Hitler and all. So maybe if the Treaty of Versailles was less harsh on them, that could have been avoided.
What about you, Tashvi?
I also think for World War II, if Germany sort of came to an agreement with the rest of the countries, it could have been avoided. And for World War One, I also do think it was inevitable, mainly because of the economic competition between all of them, and also imperialism, nationalism, and the great rivalry between Germany and Britain, and alliances that were there. So it was kind of inevitable. All of it kind of led to a situation that was created, which would eventually escalate.
So, like, the main cause for World War II had to be Hitler because he was the one who wanted to create it. Do you think the decisions that Hitler took in the World Wars were they right, were they wrong? Like, where do the decisions stand for you?
I think Hitler definitely could have thought more about his decisions, thought it through in like considering other people and other things around him. So
What about you?
I think, yeah, it's mostly the same. Hitler, although he had certain principles, like it made sense why he thought what he thought, but I think he could have looked at a more on-ground perspective about how his people would be affected. I mean, millions of lives were lost at the end of the day, so maybe he could have been more rational about it, and maybe like discussed with the other countries, come to a mutual agreement about what they wanted to do instead of directly pulling out the guns.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like, and if you like, that's a very it's a very exciting question. Do you think in these world wars, if social media was there, would it have been any different?
Honestly, I think the people's opinions would have been more valued, and because social media is one of the main and quickest way that you can get your voice to be heard. So if so many people were so opinionated about it, the representatives of the countries would have like no choice but to accept what they're saying. Like the whole Israel and Gaza thing, there's so many people voicing out their opinions to help them.
Yeah, we can see today, like through social media, everything has changed. Like if there's a protest case, there are more of it, and everything of social media has changed every perspective.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tashvi?
I also do think that social media definitely would have played a part, but to some extent, I also think social media could have sort of not played the role we think it would have played, because we don't know how social media probably would have worked then, whether it would work the same as it works now.
That's exciting. Also, like if you get one character from World War One or World War II to have dinner with, who would you choose, and what would be your first question to them?
I would choose Hitler. I truly want to understand what his thought process was, why his thought process
was very exciting.
Yeah, it's actually the same for me. Hitler, he was a gambler. Like mostly all his decisions were based on what the other countries would do. So the way he was so strategic about it, like the first question I would ask him was like, how did he do it? Because he did commit mass genocide and everything, but he completed all of the goals which he had set out when he became a chancellor. So that's honestly really respectful.
Do you think you would have learned anything from Hitler that night of the dinner?
Yes, I would like walk out of there a new person. I would be like, I would have so many new tips on how to become a leader and stuff. Like I would run for president.
Hitler was a good leader?
I think he did. He was very strategic, like I said. He could have, maybe if he was less engrossed with revenge and those ideas, he could have been a really great person for his people as well.
What about you, Tashi?
Yeah, I do also think he definitely used 100% of his brain power. But I kind of wish that his brain power would have been used a little bit for the better. So, yeah.
Those are some very exciting answers that we got from Tashvi and Kimaya today. Thank you. This for today's episode.
Bye.
Bye.